He doesn't realize he's asking out loud until the words are already in the air. Is she mine? The question lands wrong. Too loud in a space that suddenly feels too small. The child stops swinging her legs. The woman freezes, one hand still mid-motion as if she had been about to smooth the girl's hair and forgot how. Silence crashes down. It's the kind of silence that isn't empty. It presses. It accuses. It waits to see who will break first. The man kneeling in front of them, people know his name in whispers, in debts, in warnings, feels something unfamiliar tighten in his chest. Not fear. Not yet. Something closer to exposure. The woman's eyes lift to his slowly. Calm. Controlled. Dangerous. You don't get to ask that, she says. Her voice is steady, but her fingers curl tighter into the fabric of her coat. Not here. Not now. The child looks between them, confused but not afraid. Her curls brush her cheeks as she tilts her head. Mommy, she asks softly. He swallows. His mouth tastes like metal. The phone vibrates in his hand. 10 minutes. He notices the detail absurdly, clinically, as if it belongs to someone else's life. 10 minutes until the meeting upstairs. 10 minutes until men decide whether a truce holds or bodies start floating. 10 minutes until everything he has spent years controlling either locks into place or fractures. He hadn't planned to be here. The gallery is private, invitation only, a clean white box carved into the city for people who prefer their power quiet. Marble floors. Soft lighting. Cameras disguised as decor. He had approved the opening without reading the details. His people handle things like art. He had been walking toward the elevator when he saw them. The woman first. Beige coat. No jewelry. Spine straight. The posture of someone who has learned how to take up exactly as much space as the world allows her and not an inch more. She isn't surprised to see him. That's the first thing that hits him. Recognition flickers, then settles into something harder. Then the child. Pressed into the woman's side, small fingers clutching her sleeve as if anchoring herself. Scuffed shoes. A folded program crushed in one hand. Big eyes lifted toward him with open curiosity. His eyes. The realization had hit him like a physical blow. Not gradual. Not logical. Immediate and violent. A recognition so deep it bypasses thought entirely. He had stopped walking without meaning to. One foot forward, one planted. Power arrested mid-stride. Around them, the gallery had continued to breathe. A security guard shifting. A curator pretending not to stare. Somewhere, glass clinking softly. He hadn't spoken then. Silence had always been safer. The woman had broken it first. Not here. 2 words. Controlled. Final. They had moved into the side corridor where the walls go bare and the air smells like paint and money. The child's shoes squeaked with every step. Each sound felt like a countdown he couldn't stop. Now he's crouched in front of them, the marble cold beneath him, the child's eyes level with his. The woman stands between them, not blocking, not inviting. Holding a line. The phone vibrates again. 9 minutes. If he stands up now, if he apologizes, if he walks away, the meeting happens. The truce holds. The city stays quiet. The past stays buried. He looks at the child's face again. At the curve of her cheek. The unmistakable shape of her eyes. A thought settles in his chest, heavy and inescapable. If he walks away now, he isn't choosing safety. He's choosing abandonment. And the silence that follows that choice might be the loudest thing he's ever lived with. The woman doesn't raise her voice. She doesn't have to. Not here, she says again, quieter this time, and the weight of it presses harder than the words before. She shifts her hand on the child's shoulder and guides her a half-step back, just enough to break the invisible line that has formed between the girl and the man kneeling on the marble. People are starting to notice. A pair of men near the entrance have gone still, pretending to study a sculpture they've already passed twice. A security camera tilts, almost imperceptibly, adjusting its angle. Power attracts attention the way blood does. He registers all of it at once. The woman turns slightly, angling her body toward a narrow corridor to the left, where the gallery gives way to staff-only space. Bare walls. No art. Less light. Less audience. She doesn't ask him to follow. She assumes he will. He stands. Slowly. His knee protests as he straightens, the cold lingering through the fabric of his suit. The child watches him rise, eyes tracking upward, curious again. She smells faintly of soap and sugar, something warm and ordinary that does not belong in his world. Come on, the woman says, to the child now. Gentle. Normal. As if this is not a moment that could fracture lives. They move. The corridor is narrower than the main gallery, the ceiling lower, the lights harsher. The air changes, less polish, more paint and dust. The hum of the city seeps back in through the walls, distant traffic and a siren far away. The child's shoes squeak with each step. He follows a pace behind, aware of how large he must look here, how his shadow stretches across the white floor and brushes against them both. His phone vibrates again in his hand. 8 minutes. He turns it face down without looking. They stop near a side room with an open door. Inside, a bench sits against the wall beneath a single abstract sculpture, twisted metal, bent into an almost circle that never quite closes. He doesn't comment on it, but the shape lodges in his chest like a splinter. The woman gestures the child inside. Sit here for a second, okay? The girl climbs onto the bench, legs dangling, heels tapping lightly against the wall. She hums under her breath, a tuneless sound, absorbed in her own small world. The woman steps back into the corridor with him. Not far. Never far enough that the child is out of sight. This isn't what you think, she says. He almost laughs at that. Almost. The sound dies before it reaches his throat. What do I think? He asks instead. His voice comes out rougher than he intends. She studies him for a long moment, eyes flicking over his face, his suit, the way he stands like a man used to rooms bending around him. 5 years fall into that look without either of them naming them. Everything, she says. You always did. Silence stretches between them. Not hostile. Just loaded. He notices the faint line at the corner of her mouth that wasn't there before. The tiredness she carries differently now. He notices, with a jolt, how long it has been since he last saw her this close. 5 years. He swallows. You disappeared. Her jaw tightens. Just a fraction. You signed the papers. The words land clean and sharp. No raised voices. No dramatics. Just truth, dropped between them like something fragile and already broken. His phone vibrates again. 7 minutes. He glances past her, back into the room. The child is still humming, legs swinging, fingers tracing the edge of the bench. Existing. Unaware. He stops himself, breath catching. The question pushes up again, urgent and dangerous. Is she? The woman's hand comes up, palm out. Not touching him. Stopping him anyway. No, she says. Firm now. Final. You don't get to finish that. Not yet. He looks at her, really looks at her, and something shifts. Not fear. Something heavier. Guilt. Because the child is there. Because the question exists at all. Because whatever the answer is, it has already been living without him. The phone vibrates again. 6 minutes. He nods once, slow. A concession. A promise he doesn't know how to keep. The woman exhales, a small sound she probably doesn't mean him to hear. Behind her, the child looks up, eyes bright, waiting for something neither of them are ready to give. And the question he didn't get to ask hangs in the air between them, unfinished, demanding its answer. The woman doesn't move back into the room with the bench. She stays where she is, half in the corridor, half guarding the doorway, as if the space itself needs to be negotiated. The child remains in sight, swinging her legs, humming softly, the sound threading through the tension like something fragile and alive. He watches the woman's hands. They are steady now. You can look, she says. But you don't get to touch. And you don't get answers just because you want them. He nods. Again. He is learning how little nods are worth here. His gaze drifts past her, back to the girl. The longer he looks, the more details line up in ways he can't ignore. The way she squints when she concentrates. The tilt of her head. Not proof. Nothing scientific. Just a familiarity that crawls under his skin and refuses to leave. She exists, he says quietly. It isn't a question. It's an acknowledgement. Yes, the woman replies. One word. Clean. Unarguable. The truth of it hits him harder than any confirmation could. Not possibility. Not suspicion. Existence. A living fact that has been moving through the world without him. His phone vibrates again in his pocket this time. He feels it against his thigh. The countdown presses closer. 5 minutes. He shifts his weight, trying to reclaim ground, some piece of the control that has slipped. I don't need a test, he says, low. Not right now. Her eyes sharpen. Good, she says. Because you're not getting one. Silence follows. Dense. Purposeful. She steps a fraction closer, lowering her voice without softening it. This isn't a negotiation. You don't get to decide the terms just because you've realized what's at stake. He meets her gaze. There it is again, the woman he remembers, the one who never bent just because pressure was applied. The one he underestimated. Why now, he asks. Why here? A muscle tightens along her jaw. For the first time since he saw her, uncertainty flickers across her face. I didn't plan this, she says. If that's what you're asking. He watches her closely. The answer is too quick. Too defensive. The child laughs suddenly at something only she understands, a bright, ringing sound that echoes faintly down the corridor. The woman's shoulders loosen for half a second before tightening again. He follows the sound back to the girl, then to the sculpture above her head, the broken circle, metal straining toward itself and failing. A shape that almost closes. Danger clicks into place in his mind, cold and precise. You didn't come looking for me, he says. But you didn't run when you saw me. No, she agrees. Because running stops working eventually. His phone vibrates again. 4 minutes. He exhales slowly through his nose. Someone else knows, he says. Not accusing. Testing. She doesn't answer right away. That pause is everything. She glances past him, down the corridor toward the gallery floor, toward the cameras disguised as decor, toward the people pretending not to watch. When she looks back at him, her expression has changed. Be careful, she says. What you say. What you do next. The warning lands heavy in his chest. Why? Her gaze flicks to the child. Then back to him. Because secrets don't stay private when men like you are involved. The implication settles, slow and sickening. This isn't just about him anymore. It never was. He looks at the girl again. At the way her feet kick idly against the wall. At the way she trusts the world to stay where it is. Hope stirs, uninvited. Dangerous. Then unease follows it, sharp and immediate. Because hope makes you visible. And somewhere, beyond the white walls and the quiet art, he can feel eyes turning toward this corridor, toward this moment, toward a child who was never meant to be seen. The woman steps back into the doorway, reclaiming her place between him and the room. You need to decide, she says softly. Right now. Whether you're ready to be seen too. The hum of the city presses closer. And for the first time since he knelt on the marble floor, he understands that whatever choice he makes next will not stay contained. The phone vibrates again. This time, he doesn't ignore it. He lifts it just enough to catch the screen lighting his palm, the glow sharp against the white walls. A single name flashes. Not a friend. Not an enemy. A man who only calls when timing matters more than courtesy. 3 minutes. The number settles in his chest like a weight. I have to go, he says, already knowing how hollow it sounds. The woman's expression doesn't change. She has expected this. She shifts her stance slightly, recentering herself in the doorway, making the boundary visible again. Of course you do. He glances toward the main gallery, toward the elevators that will carry him up to polished words and quiet threats. From here, he can hear the murmur of voices growing louder, the faint clink of glasses, the hum of anticipation. The meeting is gathering momentum without him. Missing it won't delay anything. It will signal something else entirely. If I don't show, he says, careful, measured, things don't just pause. She studies his face, searching for something. Not sympathy. Not reassurance. Truth. I know. Silence stretches between them, thin as wire. The child leans back against the wall, kicking her heels lightly, unaware that men upstairs are already calculating what his absence would mean. The smell of paint sharpens in his nose. Fresh. Temporary. Like everything else here. His phone buzzes again. 2 minutes. He turns away, pacing once, then back, the movement restrained but restless. You said you didn't plan this, he says. Seeing me. I didn't, she replies. But that doesn't mean no one else did. The words land softly and hit hard. He stills. What do you mean? She hesitates. Just a beat. Long enough to matter. Then she reaches into her coat pocket and pulls out her phone. The screen is dark. She doesn't unlock it yet. She holds it between them, a small rectangle of possibility and threat. Last night, she says, I got a message. His gaze flicks to the corridor, to the invisible cameras, to the distant sounds of people pretending not to listen. His pulse ticks faster, sharp and focused now. What kind of message? He asks. Her thumb taps the screen. The phone lights up, illuminating her face from below. She angles it so only he can see. A single line of text. No name. No number he recognizes. Be careful at the gallery tomorrow. Some secrets don't like the light. His jaw tightens. Someone knew you'd be here, she continues. They knew where. They knew when. And they knew about her, he says. She doesn't answer. That's answer enough. His phone vibrates again, longer this time. The call he can't keep ignoring. He silences it with a flick of his thumb, the motion sharp. 1 minute. Upstairs, a decision is being made without him. He can feel it, the way a shift in air warns of an incoming storm. He looks back at the message, then at the child. The pieces slide into place with sickening clarity. This isn't coincidence. It's leverage forming. She can't be dragged into this, he says, low. The woman's eyes flash. You think I don't know that? The child glances up at the raised edge in their voices, brow furrowing slightly. The woman softens instantly, offering a small smile that costs her something. It's okay, she murmurs to the girl. Just grown-up talk. He watches the way she shields the child without making it obvious how practiced the motion is. How many times has she done this alone? His phone buzzes again. 0 minutes. A vibration without a number. A missed call that will not be forgiven. He exhales slowly. Strategic instincts scream at him to leave. To contain the damage. To handle this later, privately, with the right people and the right pressure applied. But later may already be too late. Because if someone is watching, if someone is counting on his predictability, then the child isn't just a secret anymore. She's a pressure point. He meets the woman's gaze, alarm finally breaking through his control. They'll use her, he says. Not as a threat. As a realization. The woman's grip tightens on her phone. And in that narrow corridor, with the meeting lost upstairs and unseen eyes possibly turning toward them, the danger sharpens into something immediate and personal. The woman doesn't look away when he says it. They'll use her. She studies him as if weighing whether he understands what that really means. The corridor feels tighter now, the ceiling lower, the air thick with paint fumes and something sharper, fear, maybe, or memory. The hum of the gallery seeps through the walls, muted but persistent, like the city reminding them it doesn't pause for private reckonings. You think that's new? She asks. The question lands softly and cuts deep. He straightens, instinctively defensive. You vanished, he says. No explanation. No warning. You let me believe. She lifts her hand. Not in anger. In restraint. The motion is precise, practiced. I let you believe what you were already ready to believe. Silence follows. Heavy. He hears the child inside the room kick the wall twice, heels tapping a rhythm that has nothing to do with them. The sculpture above her throws a warped shadow across the floor, a broken circle stretching and failing to close. The woman steps closer to the wall, resting her shoulder against it. The fabric of her coat creases. She exhales slowly, as if bracing herself. 5 years ago, she says, I didn't leave because I stopped loving you. His jaw tightens. He doesn't interrupt. I left because staying meant choosing between you and her. She glances toward the room. The child hums again, softer now. And that was never a real choice. His breath catches. He looks away, down the corridor, anywhere but at her. You don't know what it was like, she continues. Your world. Your people. The way doors closed when you weren't in the room. The warnings that came wrapped as advice. A faint, bitter smile touches her mouth. They never threatened you directly. They didn't have to. The words settle, each one adding weight. She pushes off the wall and stands straight, meeting his eyes. They told me accidents happen. That reputations are fragile. That children raised in the wrong circumstances grow up paying for it. His stomach twists. He remembers meetings he didn't question. Conversations he dismissed as noise. The comfort of believing problems solved themselves. You could have told me, he says. The protest sounds weak even to him. I tried. Her voice doesn't rise. It doesn't need to. Once. The memory flickers, unwelcome. A late night. A conversation he cut short because there was a call waiting. He had promised to talk later. Later never came. The silence that follows stretches longer than the others. No one fills it. The child shifts on the bench, the faint scuff of shoes against stone grounding him again in the present. This isn't theory. This is consequence, breathing a few feet away. I didn't abandon you, the woman says quietly. I protected her. He nods once, slow. The motion feels like conceding ground he never realized he'd been standing on. Shame creeps in, uninvited. Not dramatic. Just heavy. His phone buzzes again, forgotten for a moment. He ignores it. You think I don't know what it costs to say your name out loud? She asks. To stand next to you where cameras can see? I've lived small on purpose. I made sure no one could connect dots that would lead back to her. He looks at her hands now. They tremble, just barely, as if the steadiness costs her something. He understands then how long she has been carrying this alone. I was a coward, he says. The words scrape on the way out. She doesn't argue. Another silence. This one softer, sadder. Then she straightens, resolve settling back into place. There's something else you need to understand. He meets her gaze. If you acknowledge her, she says, there is no quiet version of that. No private correction. It will be public. It will be messy. It will be irreversible. His pulse quickens. What are you saying? I'm saying, she replies, voice steady, the moment you claim her, every eye that watches you will watch her too. She steps aside just enough for him to see the child again, small and unguarded beneath the broken circle. That's the price, she says. And once you pay it, there's no refund. The words hang in the air, final and unforgiving. He looks at the girl. Then back at the woman. And the weight of what acknowledgement would unleash presses down on him, heavier than any threat he's faced before. The woman doesn't soften what she says next. If you do this, she tells him, you don't just lose meetings. You lose men. The corridor seems to narrow again, walls pressing closer, the white paint glaring under the lights. He folds his arms, instinctively bracing, calculations sliding back into place like armor. Spell it out, he says. She does. Alliances that exist because you're predictable will fracture, she says. People inside your circle will start choosing themselves. Quietly. First with information. Then with loyalty. Her eyes don't leave his. And some won't wait. He exhales through his nose, slow and controlled. He knows this terrain. He has mapped it, exploited it, survived it. Violence, he says. Yes. The word hangs there. Simple. Undeniable. Behind them, the child laughs suddenly, delighted by something on the wall, a crack in the paint shaped like an animal. The sound is light, pure, and painfully out of place. It cuts through the tension and lodges somewhere deep in his chest. The woman glances back at her, then returns her attention to him. You think I don't understand what I'm asking you to risk, she says. I've already risked it. He shifts his weight, jaw tight. And what happens if I don't? She doesn't answer immediately. That pause is deliberate. She reaches into her coat again. This time, she unlocks her phone fully and scrolls. The glow reflects in her eyes, sharp and cold. She turns the screen toward him. Another message. Different time stamp. Earlier. Closer. If he denies her, she disappears. If he claims her, she becomes leverage. Choose wisely. His blood runs cold. This came this morning, she says quietly. After the first one. Whoever it is, they're not guessing anymore. He stares at the screen, mind racing, cataloging possibilities. The wording. The certainty. This isn't a threat sent to intimidate. It's a threat sent to inform. They're already moving. His phone vibrates again, insistent now. A text flashes across the screen when he lifts it, one of his lieutenants. Where are you? He doesn't answer. How many people know? He asks. She locks her phone and slips it back into her coat. Enough. Silence falls. Thicker than before. Charged. He looks past her into the room again. The child has slid off the bench and is crouched near the floor, tracing the outline of the broken circle's shadow with her finger, absorbed, safe for this moment. Her curls fall forward, hiding her face as she concentrates. This is what they're talking about. Not abstract consequences. Not strategy. Her. His chest tightens. Calculation strains under the weight of it. If I step into this publicly, he says, there's no partial commitment. No halfway. I become a target in ways I haven't been in years. Yes, the woman says. And so does she. He flinches, just slightly. She watches it happen. That's why I stayed silent, she adds. That's why I stayed away. Silence was safer than truth. Until it wasn't. Another vibration. His phone again. The countdown feels like it's ticking inside his bones now, no longer measured in minutes but in narrowing options. He crouches without thinking, bringing himself level with the child. The marble is cold through his suit, grounding. She looks up at him, eyes bright. Do you like art? He asks softly. She shrugs. I like shadows, she says, then grins and goes back to tracing them. Something cracks open in him then. Not loud. Not dramatic. Just enough to let the weight through. He stands slowly and turns back to the woman. If I choose this, he says, everything changes. Her gaze doesn't waver. That's what choices do. Another silence. Longer. He can hear his own breathing, the distant hum of the gallery, the faint echo of footsteps upstairs moving on without him. He looks at the exit. Then at the child. The world seems to narrow to a single point. I don't have time, he says. The woman nods once. You have exactly as much time as they're giving you. His phone vibrates again. This time, he doesn't look. Because he knows the next decision cannot be delayed any longer. And whatever he chooses will begin the moment he opens his mouth. The silence stretches until it becomes unbearable. No phones. No voices. Just the low hum of electricity in the walls and the faint, distant murmur of the gallery continuing without them. The child has gone quiet too, crouched near the wall, tracing the shadow again and again as if repetition might make it stay. He stands in the corridor with his back to the exit, his front to the woman, his hands hanging uselessly at his sides. His chest feels tight, breath shallow. For the first time in years, there is no move that feels safe. Paralysis settles in. If he leaves now, he preserves order. If he stays, he invites chaos. Every instinct he has trained himself to trust is screaming the same answer. Walk away. His phone vibrates again. This time, the sound feels louder than it should, invasive, like a hand grabbing his shoulder. He doesn't look at the screen. He already knows what it says. Where are you? We're starting. The woman watches him closely. She doesn't rush him. She doesn't plead. She knows pressure works better when it comes from inside. The child shifts, knees popping softly as she stands. She wanders closer, stopping just short of the threshold, peering up at him with open curiosity. Are you going to leave? She asks. The question lands without accusation. Just a simple fact-seeking curiosity, the kind children have when they don't yet know what leaving means. He feels it then. The final fracture. He lowers himself again, slower this time, knees protesting, the marble biting cold. He meets her eyes. Up close, they are even more familiar than before. Too honest. Too unguarded. I was going to, he says. She nods, accepting the truth without judgment. Okay. The simplicity of it hurts more than anger would have. He straightens and reaches into his jacket, pulling his phone out at last. The screen lights his face in harsh white. Missed calls. Messages stacking like dominoes. He opens the calendar invite. The meeting name sits there, clinical and clean, masking the blood it prevents. His thumb hovers. This is the last moment he can stop. He closes his eyes. Silence. When he opens them, the decision has already settled. He types one sentence. No explanation. No apology. Meeting cancelled. Effective immediately. He presses send. The phone vibrates almost instantly as the message ripples outward, hitting assistants, lieutenants, men who will read it twice and start making their own calls. He turns the phone face down and slips it back into his pocket before doubt can reach him. The woman inhales sharply. Not relief. Shock. The child looks between them. What happened? Something important, he says gently. Something that needed to happen. He turns to the woman. I'm not hiding her. Her eyes widen, just a fraction. You don't know what that means. I know enough, he replies. His voice steadies as he speaks, resolve replacing the tremor. I know it means there's no quiet version. I know it means people will come for leverage. I know it means I lose protection I've relied on for years. He steps closer, closing the space she has kept so carefully guarded. And I know I'm done letting silence make decisions for me. She searches his face, looking for cracks, for calculation disguised as conviction. What she finds makes her swallow hard. There are no guarantees, she says. I know. You could lose everything. I already did once, he answers. I just didn't realize it. Another silence falls, different from the others. Not heavy. Charged. Behind them, somewhere upstairs, voices rise. Not shouting. Confusion. The sound of a machine encountering unexpected resistance. The child reaches for his hand without hesitation, small fingers wrapping around his. The contact is light, unceremonious, devastating. He doesn't pull away. The woman exhales, slow and controlled, then nods once. Not agreement. Acceptance of reality. Then we're visible now, she says. Yes, he replies. The corridor seems to hold its breath with them. Somewhere beyond the walls, phones ring. Doors open. Calculations shift. Plans begin to unravel and reform around this new, dangerous truth. He squeezes the child's hand gently, grounding himself in something real as the consequences of his choice begin moving toward them, unseen but unstoppable. The fallout doesn't arrive all at once. It ripples. His phone vibrates again as they step out of the corridor into a quieter service hallway, the air cooler here, the smell shifting from paint to metal and cleaning solvent. He doesn't answer. He doesn't have to. The weight of the missed meeting is already moving through the building, through the city, through rooms where his absence is being interpreted as defiance or weakness or both. The woman walks beside him now, not ahead, not behind. Equal distance. The child keeps hold of his hand, swinging it slightly as if this is an ordinary walk, as if nothing seismic has just happened. Another vibration. Then another. The phone feels alive, insistent, like something trying to crawl back into his control. They pass a glass panel overlooking the main gallery floor. Below, men cluster in tight knots, heads bent together, faces sharp with calculation. One of his senior allies looks up at the glass and stills when he sees him. Their eyes meet. The man's expression changes. Not relief. Assessment. He looks away first. A fracture. Small, but real. The woman notices. She always notices. Her grip tightens on her phone, knuckles widening. They're already choosing, she says under her breath. Yes, he replies. They always do. The elevator doors ahead are closed. A guard stands nearby, posture rigid, eyes flicking between them and the hall behind. The guard's jaw tightens when he recognizes the child. Recognition spreads faster than orders. His phone buzzes again. This time, a text slips through before he can stop it. We need to talk. Now. Another follows immediately. You blindsided us. He deletes both without replying. The elevator dings. The doors slide open with a soft mechanical sigh. Inside, the mirrored walls reflect them back, his dark suit, her beige coat, the small figure between them. A family shape that feels dangerous just to see. The doors close. The space compresses. The hum of movement vibrates through the floor as the elevator descends. The child leans against his side, trusting, warm. He becomes acutely aware of how exposed that makes him feel. His phone vibrates again. He finally looks. A number he doesn't have saved. No name. No history. A single message appears. You've crossed a line. Protect what you can. His breath slows. Controlled. The warning isn't loud. It doesn't need to be. The woman watches his face change. Who is it? Someone who didn't need to announce themselves, he says. The elevator continues downward. When the doors open, the sound hits them, traffic, voices, the distant thrum of the city pressing in. The smell of rain on concrete mixes with exhaust. Outside, his driver has already stepped out of the car, eyes sharp, scanning. Too sharp. What's wrong? The woman asks quietly. My people are nervous, he replies. That's when mistakes happen. The child squints up at the sky, fascinated by the clouds. It might rain, she says. Yes, he answers softly. It might. They move toward the car. He feels it now, the subtle shift in the way space reacts to him. Less yielding. More watchful. Power doesn't disappear, it rearranges. The driver opens the door, hesitates when he sees the woman and the child. A flicker of confusion, quickly buried. Sir, he says, voice neutral. Home, he replies, then pauses. The word doesn't feel right anymore. He looks at the woman. Where are you staying? She hesitates, just long enough to confirm what he already knows. Not somewhere you control. Good answer. He nods. Then somewhere safe, he says, and the command lands heavier than usual. The driver swallows and nods, already recalculating. As they settle into the car, the woman finally exhales, a sound she has been holding back since the corridor. She looks at him now, really looks. You understand, she says, not a question. There's no going back. I know. No quiet fixes. I know. No shield you can stand in front of her forever. He meets her gaze. I'm not trying to. The car pulls into traffic. Behind them, the gallery recedes, glass and white walls shrinking into the cityscape. Ahead, streets branch and merge like veins, carrying news faster than cars. His phone vibrates again. This time, he doesn't check it. The woman shifts closer to the child, instinctive, protective. The child yawns, resting her head briefly against his arm before catching herself and straightening, embarrassed. Something in his chest loosens. Then tightens again. Because he can feel it now, unmistakable. The danger hasn't peaked. It's just learned his shape. And somewhere in the city, decisions are being made about how to use what he has just put into the light. The car idles at the curb longer than necessary. Rain dots the windshield now, light but steady, blurring the streetlights into soft halos. The city sounds are muted inside, tires hissing on wet asphalt, a horn somewhere far off, the low rumble of engines passing. The driver glances at him in the rearview mirror, waiting for an order that doesn't come. The woman opens the door first. Cool air rushes in, carrying the smell of rain and street food from somewhere nearby. The child hops down after her, boots splashing lightly in a shallow puddle. She laughs at the sound, delighted. Careful, the woman says, reflexive. The child grins and splashes again, smaller this time. He watches from the car for a moment longer than he should, hands resting on his knees, feeling oddly unmoored. This isn't a safe house or a boardroom or a place where decisions come with prepared consequences. It's a quiet side street lined with low buildings, a bakery still glowing at the corner, steam fogging its windows. Ordinary. He steps out. The rain cools his face instantly. He inhales, deeper than he has all day. The child looks up at him, assessing. Not judging. Just curious. Do you like rain? She asks. Yes, he says, surprised to realize it's true. I forgot I did. She considers that, then nods as if it makes sense. They stand there, awkward, the space between them filled with everything that hasn't been said. The woman unlocks the building door, pauses, and looks back at him. This doesn't change everything, she says quietly. Not yet. I know. And it doesn't fix what you broke. I know. She studies him for another long second, then steps inside with the child. The door stays open. An invitation. Or a test. He follows. The stairwell smells like old paint and detergent. Their footsteps echo softly as they climb one flight. Inside the apartment, the air is warm. Dim lamps cast gentle light over mismatched furniture, children's drawings taped unevenly to the wall. A small pair of shoes sits by the door. The child shrugs off her jacket and drops it on the floor without ceremony. Mommy, can we have milk? She asks. Yes, the woman replies, already moving toward the kitchen. She hesitates, then looks at him. Do you want? I'll wait, he says. She nods, relief flickering across her face before she turns away. He remains near the doorway, unsure where to put himself. The child circles him once, studying him from different angles, then stops directly in front of him. You're very tall, she announces. He smiles, small and careful. I get that a lot. She tilts her head. Are you staying? The question is simple. It guts him. I don't know yet, he says honestly. But I want to. She processes this with the seriousness only children have, then shrugs. Okay. She pads over to the couch and climbs up, curling her legs beneath her. The woman returns with 2 glasses of milk, sets one in front of the child. She hands the other to him, pauses, then pulls it back slightly. Black coffee next time, she says, dry. A corner of his mouth lifts. He accepts the milk anyway, holding the glass awkwardly and used to this kind of offering. They sit. Not together. Not apart. A careful distance that feels earned. The child sips her milk, leaving a white mustache on her lip. She wipes it away with the back of her hand and looks at him again. You didn't answer before, she says. About leaving. He sets the glass down slowly. I don't want to leave, he says. Sometimes adults make mistakes. Big ones. And sometimes they don't get to fix them right away. She frowns, thinking. You can try, she offers. Something in his chest tightens. He nods once. I will. The woman watches this exchange in silence, arms folded loosely, eyes unreadable. She doesn't interrupt. She doesn't soften. The rain outside grows heavier, drumming against the windows. Somewhere down the street, a siren wails and fades. His phone vibrates in his pocket. He ignores it. The child yawns, curls up against the arm of the couch. The woman drapes a blanket over her without looking away from him. "This is not forgiveness," she says softly. "I know. This is one step." "That's enough," he replies. She holds his gaze for a long moment, then nods. He sits there, milk untouched now, rain pounding the night outside, a child breathing softly a few feet away. The world beyond these walls is shifting, recalibrating, sharpening its focus. He can feel it. But for this moment, just this one, there is something like peace. Fragile. Temporary. And already under threat. Morning arrives without ceremony. Gray light filters through the thin curtains, softening the edges of the room. The rain has stopped sometime in the night, leaving the air clean and damp, the city quieter than usual. From the couch, he can see dust motes drifting slowly, catching the light and disappearing again. He hasn't slept. Not because of noise or fear, but because stillness feels unfamiliar now. His body keeps expecting interruption. A knock. A call. Consequences arriving all at once. Instead, there is breathing. The child is curled on the couch beneath the blanket, one arm flung out, fingers relaxed. Her chest rises and falls in an easy rhythm. In sleep, her face looks even younger, unguarded in a way the world has not yet learned to threaten. He sits in the chair opposite her, jacket folded neatly on his lap. His tie is gone. His sleeves are rolled once, unevenly. The faint smell of milk still lingers in the room, mixed with detergent and old wood and something warm that feels like life continuing. This is what he chose. The woman stands in the doorway to the small kitchen, a mug warming her hands. Steam curls upward, then fades. She watches him the way she has all night, careful, assessing, not hostile. Not forgiving. "You should go soon," she says quietly. Not a dismissal. A fact. "I know." He doesn't look away from the child. Saying goodbye feels heavier than staying did. Outside, a car door slams. Somewhere down the block, a radio clicks on. The city stretches, waking up, already adjusting to whatever rumors have started moving through it. "There will be fallout," she says. "Yes. Not just for you." He nods. He has spent his life accepting risk when it was abstract, when it wore suits and spoke politely. This is different. This has a face. A small hand. A name he hasn't said out loud yet. "I can't promise safety," he says. The admission costs him. "I can promise honesty. And effort. And that I won't disappear again." She studies him, eyes sharp but tired. "That's not the same as protection." "No," he agrees. "But it's what I have." Silence settles between them. Not strained. Just full. The child stirs, murmurs something unintelligible, then rolls onto her side, clutching the blanket closer. He feels an unexpected ache behind his eyes. He doesn't move. He doesn't reach out. He just watches, committing the moment to memory the way men like him learn to catalog exits and threats. Eventually, she wakes. She blinks against the light, squints, then spots him. Her expression brightens without hesitation. "You're still here." "Yes," he says. She smiles, stretches, then sits up, hair a tangled halo. "Mommy," she announces, he stayed. The woman's mouth tightens, not quite a smile, not quite not. "I see that." The child slides off the couch and pads over to him, stopping just short, as if remembering a rule she doesn't fully understand. She looks up. "Are you coming back?" The question is simple. It is everything. He considers his answer carefully, feeling the weight of it settle into place. "Yes," he says. "If you'll let me." She nods, satisfied, as if the matter is resolved. She turns and wanders toward the kitchen, already asking for breakfast. The woman watches this, something shifting in her gaze. Not trust. Not yet. But acknowledgement. You've changed the shape of things, she says softly. Yes. And you don't know how hard they'll push back. He stands, slipping his jacket on, smoothing the fabric out of habit. He feels strangely lighter doing it now, as if the armor doesn't fit the same way anymore. I know, he says. But I know what I'm pushing for. He pauses at the door, looks back one last time. The child is sitting at the table now, swinging her legs, talking to herself as she waits. Ordinary. Alive. Real. This is meaning, he realizes. Not control. Not silence. Meaning is choosing something that can be taken from you and standing there anyway. He opens the door. Cool air brushes his face. The city waits, vast and uncertain. Behind him, a life he didn't know existed continues in small, human sounds. Ahead of him, consequences gather, patient and inevitable. He steps out, closing the door softly, carrying both with him.